Benjamin Franklin, the founding father of America, once said there's three things certain in life. That's death, taxes, and that a Land Rover Defender is going to appreciate in value. And that is exactly what we're going to be reviewing today. A massive thank you to Hamworthy Car Centre for letting me review this vehicle. They've got a massive selection of cars on their forecourt, and this one is a good example of a Land Rover Defender. These vehicles have been around for a long time, but this one in particular is one of the newer ones. And we're going to go through what sort of things you'd expect from these newer types of Defenders in comparison to the old ones, and also what the experience is to own one. Now then, there's one thing that hits me right away when I get in this vehicle, and that is quite literally this door. It hits my leg. I'm not a particularly large man, but yeah, it's a very narrow space here. If you're into your Land Rovers, that's something you're going to be fully aware of. But if you're brand new to them, that might be some news to you. There's a reason that these Land Rovers, for the most part, have not changed for many, many years. And that is because they are reliable. They have a cult following, people love them, and they're easy to modify. Probably the most important changes you'll get with some of these later model Land Rovers is this interior dash. You get a different engine that meets the new Euro regulations, and you're no longer reliant on vents underneath the windscreen for some fresh air. But as for the 4x4 ability, it has remained largely unchanged, and any changes that have been incorporated have been purely to benefit its capability off-road. The Series 1 variant was originally introduced to rival the American Jeep. In 1948, the Land Rover originally launched at the Amsterdam Motor Show. It was a very basic vehicle with one task in mind: getting you off-road. It has since then, over the years, been developed and changed until what we have here, the final iteration of this chassis-style Defender. Now, of course, you can get a new Defender, and that is massively controversial within the Defender scene. It's not as basic as this, it has more luxuries, but the lack of luxuries are what gives this vehicle its charm. The ease of fixing things when things break, when body panels are damaged. The absence of double skin body panels means that when you damage one, you can just unscrew it and put a new one back on. So what can you expect if you get a used but relatively new Land Rover like this? Well, for starters, in comparison to some of the earlier models, you'll be looking at getting a new interior dashboard. Along with that, you're going to get some updated clocks. You're going to get a smaller 2.2 diesel engine that is pushing a whopping 122 brake horsepower and 266 newton meters of torque. That's going to take you all the way up to 90 miles an hour, where you'll probably question what you are doing because the noise in here will be unbearable. However, that being said, this recent model of Land Rover is much better than the Land Rovers I've driven in the past. It seems like they've gone that extra mile with the sound deadening, although they've not taken it overboard, and I don't think it's possible to take something like this overboard. There's just not enough panels to put sound deadening on, and there's a lot of thin metal panels that just can't have sound deadening put on them. But they've definitely done a better job in comparison to some of the older models. I know for sure that I've been sat in the back of one of these for some considerable drives, and when Hamworthy Car Centre mentioned to me that they had a Land Rover Defender they'd like me to review, a little bit of me shuddered. The new 6-speed gearbox feels smooth, it's not as clunky as the older ones. So the reason I say these vehicles are probably going to appreciate, and don't take my word on it and buy a vehicle because I said so, and then message me when you don't make money on it. But there are very few vehicles in the car world that you can buy and make money back, or at least break even on. Two of them, to my knowledge, are a Transporter and a Land Rover Defender. One of the biggest reasons for the Land Rover Defenders is they have discontinued this model and they brought out a new one. The new one's been met with plenty of hostilities, so the later, older models are now very desirable. So I think first and foremost, this vehicle is a utility vehicle. Some people buy these just to have that road presence, and they'll never go off-road and they'll never get anything put in the back. But it's what they're made for. There's rubber carpets, there's rubber in the back, things don't damage too easily, and like I said before, when they do, it's not a big problem. This one that I'm driving is the hardtop utility, which is probably why you can hear quite a bit of ambient noise in here. The top is just sheet metal without any form of sound deadening. You can get them in different types, so you can get these with seats in the back, you can get twin cabs, you can get half cabs. There's a reason why large establishments such as the British Army has been using these for years. Not much stops them off-road, they're reliable, easy to use and easy to maintain. As you can expect with this model, the two-seater hardtop utility, there is an abundance of space in the back to put things. This is also fouled by two quite large wheel arches left and right. However, it's never been a problem for most, but they don't quite need to be there. The wheel arches obviously don't need to go back that far and forward that far, but they are there nonetheless. And also you have half a bulkhead just at the back of the seats. I have seen modifications for these to take these out should you want to remove the bulkhead. There is some side posts that support the structure of the vehicle when you remove that, if you need to get some sort of pass through to the rear. So although this one has got the new Euro compliant engine in, you'll only be expecting to get around 25.5 miles per gallon from this vehicle. I would say that is mostly down to the big knobbly wheels what you've got on it. And if you did want a more road going version and you decided to put some road wheels on it with some road tyres, I'm sure that would bring your mile per gallon up considerably. But who wants one of these to leave it on the road? You might have visions of buying one of these, joining your local Landrover owners club, going green laning, getting a big sticker for your windscreen saying "One Life, live it." Don't do that. And that is exactly what I like to use this vehicle for. I think anyone that buys one of these and keeps it on the road and uses it as a Chelsea wagon, I think it's just a waste. You're not going to get the luxuries what you'd expect from a more modern Range Rover or even Land Rover Discovery, and ultimately you're not going to be using it for what it's intended for. So what can you expect to pay for a Land Rover Defender such as this one? This one has 24,900 miles on the clock and it's currently retailing for 26,990. So they are by no means a cheap vehicle, but they are a very, very good vehicle. The extras you see on this one is it's got the black checker plate on the bonnet, it's got a blacked out grille, blacked out Defender badges, some nice alloy wheels, LED headlight upgrades, which I feel the LED headlight upgrades are a much needed addition to make it look like a more modern Land Rover, because without them, to the untrained eye, it would just be an old £6,000 Land Rover Defender. It wouldn't be a true Land Rover Defender video without a bit of off-roading. Now, one thing you can benefit from in the UK is you have access to an abundance of what we call green lanes. And if you've got one of these vehicles, this is exactly where I'd like to take it on the weekend. You can use it as a family vehicle during the week, and then on the weekend you can bring it out here and you can take it off-roading, test your skills and abilities. They do get much easier than this, and they also get much harder. But one thing's for sure, doing this with your spare time, you're definitely going to have fun. These things are unrivaled when it comes to off-road ability. And attacking tracks such as this, I don't even need to change any of the settings. It's just going to eat them up. Yeah, you could go hill walking with your spare time, but you can get there quicker, have more fun, and go more places with a vehicle like a Land Rover Defender. And you're probably going to be limited by your ability if you get one of these Land Rovers. It's going to be very unlikely that you're going to be limited by the Land Rover's capability. Now, of course, if you get one of these, you can expect to have fun on lanes like this and see scenery just like this. But if you get a new one like this, you're going to get the reliability as well. And I think for me, if I was to go green laning or want an off-road vehicle, a Land Rover Defender just like this one would be my first choice. A massive thank you to Hamworthy Car Centre for letting me use this vehicle for the day. Probably going to have to wash it down before I hand it back. If you did like the video, then please do subscribe. If you've got any more questions with regards to the vehicle, then drop them in the comments down below. And if I can't answer them, I'm sure Hamworthy Car Centre will be able to. That's me for now, guys, and I'll catch you in the next video.